So I'm out here at the job site for the tiny house project, and we just had a friendly visit from the sheriff's department, and they said we have to cease and desist, that we cannot build on this site. So it's interesting because we've been on this site now for 2 weeks. A generous friend of ours let us park it here on this property, which is on a very busy highway, so we're getting a lot of road traffic that comes and checks out what we're doing. And the enthusiasm from the public, the general public, has been very encouraging. So let's just say that when the public people stop and visit, their enthusiasm for our tiny house project is so great. And even the lady that delivered the cease and desist message, she felt bad, we could tell. Well, we've already been kicked off our own property. So at our house in the city limits in town, we had it parked out front in the street because there wasn't any room on our property for a 40-foot trailer. And so we were building right in front of our house, and that was really convenient. And then our kind friend let us come over here and see this. And anyway, so we're having challenges. We have a deadline to meet, September 14th. We have promised, if you're on our newsletter email list, that you'll be the first to have a virtual tour, that we will not release it to the public on Facebook or social media at all until September 30th. So if you're not on our newsletter, you might want to get on it now so that you don't have to wait until September 30th, and that on September 14th you would have it in your email box, a virtual tour. And so all you do to get on that newsletter list is you go to www.hillcountrytinyhouses.com. hillcountrytinyhouses.com. Fill in your email, and I promise you, in your inbox on September 14th, you will be able to have a virtual tour of our tiny house completed before anyone else does, and otherwise you'll have to wait until September 30th. So the cease and desist that happened on our own property, now the cease and desist that happened on our friend's property here, is creating the challenge when we have this deadline. But the second challenge with tiny house buildings, first of all, you have those building restrictions and zoning issues all over to deal with. But another main challenge that people face is you can't get, there is one bank that we know of that's I call tiny house friendly to loan people. But in the past, most tiny house projects have been self-funded or have been funded by crowdfunding or friends and family. And so we've done this self-funding. We self-funded our remodel project on the big house because the banks didn't want a loan for a remodel. So we self-funded that, and now we're self-funding this, and at the end of our savings, scraping the barrel and saying, well, we got a little bit more to finish and we've got a deadline to meet. So we're just trying to work all that out. But financially, it is a challenge for people that are looking to either build their own tiny house or buy a tiny house. And the other dilemma for us is that the contract on our house, our big house, fell through. And so we would have had the funding in a couple of days. But because that fell through, we don't have that funding. So anyway, the question we're coming up against now is, if our big house, we still have some interested parties, so we may get a contract any day now, but if our big house doesn't sell, do we sell this treasure? And if we sold this treasure, we have to figure out what asking price. So I'd be curious if you put in the comments what price do you think you would pay for a tiny house like that. And then, or do we rent it out, maybe like on Airbnb for a few months until the big house sells? And so if so, what would you pay to stay in a tiny house like this? So I'd love to hear your comments. Go ahead and put those below. And on September 14th, if you're on our email list, you'll get to see the inside tour. Thanks so much. Bye.